The most terrifying words in the English language are, "I'm from the government, and I'm here to help." The trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant, it's just that they know so much that isn't so. Government's view of the economy could be summed up in a few short phrases. If it moves, tax it. If it keeps moving, regulate it. And if it stops moving, subsidize it. Peace is not absence of conflict. It is the ability to handle conflict by peaceful means. We must reject the idea that every time a law is broken, society is guilty rather than the lawbreaker. It is time to restore the American precept that each individual is accountable for his actions. Inflation is as violent as a mugger, as frightening as an armed robber, and as deadly as a hitman. Some people wonder all their lives if they've made a difference. The Marines don't have that problem. No government ever voluntarily reduces itself in size. Government programs, once launched, never disappear. Actually, a government bureau is the nearest thing to eternal life we'll ever see on this earth. The problem is not that people are taxed too little. The problem is that government spends too much. There are no constraints on the human mind, no walls around the human spirit, no barriers to our progress, except those we ourselves erect. Government is like a baby, an alimentary canal with a big appetite at one end and no sense of responsibility at the other. To sit back hoping that someday, some way, someone will make things right is to go on feeding the crocodile, hoping he will eat you last. But eat you he will. My fellow Americans, I am pleased to tell you I just signed legislation which outlaws Russia forever. The bombing begins in 5 minutes. Government exists to protect us from each other. Where government has gone beyond its limits is in deciding to protect us from ourselves. Approximately 80% of our air pollution stems from hydrocarbons released by vegetation. So let's not go overboard in setting and enforcing tough emission standards from man-made sources. My philosophy of life is that if we make up our mind what we are going to make of our lives, then work hard toward that goal, we never lose. Somehow we win out. Freedom is never more than 1 generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. It has been said that politics is the second oldest profession. I have learned that it bears a striking resemblance to the first. How do you tell a communist? Well, it's someone who reads Marx and Lenin. And how do you tell an anti-communist? It's someone who understands Marx and Lenin. Democracy is worth dying for because it's the most deeply honorable form of government ever devised by man. Surround yourself with the best people you can find, delegate authority, and don't interfere as long as the policy you've decided upon is being carried out. I know in my heart that man is good, that what is right will always eventually triumph, and there's purpose and worth to each and every life. There are no easy answers, but there are simple answers. We must have the courage to do what we know is morally right. Poland is not east or west. Poland is at the center of European civilization. It has contributed mightily to that civilization. It is doing so today by being magnificently unreconciled to oppression. Today we did what we had to do. They counted on America to be passive. They counted wrong. Above all, we must realize that no arsenal, or no weapon in the arsenals of the world, is so formidable as the will and moral courage of free men and women. It is a weapon our adversaries in today's world do not have. Each generation goes further than the generation preceding it, because it stands on the shoulders of that generation. You will have opportunities beyond anything we've ever known. No mother would ever willingly sacrifice her sons for territorial gain, for economic advantage, for ideology. Thomas Jefferson once said, "We should never judge a president by his age, only by his works." And ever since he told me that, I stopped worrying. We will always remember. We will always be proud. We will always be prepared, so we will always be free. Optimism comes less easily today, not because democracy is less vigorous, but because democracy's enemies have refined their instruments of repression. I have wondered at times what the 10 Commandments would have looked like if Moses had run them through the U.S. Congress. Politics, I suppose to be the second oldest profession. I have come to realize that it bears a very close resemblance to the first.